do some Q&A. We did make this stuff up so we don't have all the answers possibly. And if you know the answer, feel free to say, I know the answer. Like the person who had asked about population. Maybe there's a population person here. Anyway, but we'll try and come up with answers or at least resources. And one of the things that I wanted to remind everybody, which means I can find the letter. I'm not going to find it easy. With the questions, I'll find it. So how many people would like to ask questions? How many people have questions? 1, 2? That's it. Oh, come on. All right. That's totally easy. 3. Okay. Okay. Let's do some questions. Hi.
Now, the question I have is, what is the connection between the city council and the building department so that pressure and discussions with those members will reflect our views that get sent to the city?
Did everyone hear that question? What's the relationship between the planning department, Office of Planning and Development, or OPCD, if you really want to get into it, and the city council? So the Office of Planning and Development, if that's okay, I'm going to jump in, is run/managed by the mayor. The city council is a different group. They are advisory to, or not advisory, they have their own agendas. But the plan that the mayor has had the Office of Planning and Development put together will be sent to city council for evaluation and voting. So a proposal comes and goes to city council and they vote up, down. If it's up, then it goes back to the planning department to be figured out, and that's, you know, when you make the sausage and there's all the stuff that goes into it, that's what they'll be doing, is making the sausage and coming up with all the rules that will implement the different changes that they've adopted. Does that make sense? Okay?
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to focus on the planning and zoning department, not PCI, Department of Construction and Inspection. They're going to administer and carry out the building department and the building code requirements. What we're really talking about is zoning, planning and zoning.
Right, and so it's zoning, and the building department are the ones who are going to, you know, say, yes, you can build this because you've met all of these codes. But when it comes to writing those codes, they're based off of what the city council approved, and the planning department, you know, how they all work together to write stuff that they believe matches the intent of what got adopted. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the building department's going to take receipt of the plans that come across their desk. They're going to look for height, maximum floor area, and they're going to, you know, take the plans that they come across their
I used to be a planner who would take in a set of plans and I would look at the codes and I would say, does this meet the code? What codes am I looking at? What codes do I know? I was always looking to see, does this building meet the code? And that's what building department will be doing. Next question was you, sir?
Yeah, so for like a LR3 zone, just wanted to point out, or the question, I'm not sure, I glanced at the zoning code, not sure what the maximum footprint would be for like a 7,000 square foot lot, for example. You need to be aware, I mean, it's possible you could, what I'm questioning is whether you can put like an efficiency dwelling unit in these buildings. You could end up with a significant number of units in a 4 or 5 story building that would take the density from, and I know we're talking about wanting to increase the density, but you need to understand, you're talking about a single family residence with 2, 3, 4 people in it. You talked about up to 100, 120 people in the same lot.
And that's where it gets into that sausage making.
Yeah.
Which we won't get into sausage making
And I don't
here
know if
because
I'm right, but
I personally hate FAR or anything I don't do math in public, and all the floor ratio and all of these different things about how many units you get, and this, it's like beyond me. So, good question. Sausage making, 2025, 2026. great way to get involved in sausage making if you really want to. Ma'am.
So, given that we have the Office of Planning that is accepting these comments online, and we have city council people who will be voting on their proposals, would it be good to send the comments to the online office and also to the city council person?
Heck, why not?
Yeah. Well,
The one thing with your comments, when I make comments and when MoCA makes comments, we send them to the people who ask for them, and then we just do the scatter shot. Anybody else that we think should know what we think. And we never expect a reply. Never expect a reply. And I'm going to say that one more time, because everybody wants to say, I wrote this brilliant letter and I nailed all these issues and it's so important. I want to know that you know what I'm talking about. Nope, you're not going to get a reply. But if you still want to send it to all the city council, to the city attorney, to the, maybe not the fire chief, I don't know. But except, the infrastructure. Do we have the infrastructure in place to deal with fires? In some of these areas when you start upzoning and the pipes aren't big enough or the pipes break. Maybe the fire chief does need to be sent a copy of my message. Okay, we got this, and this, right here.
Yeah, so that's my question is like, so which department decides that they can't do this kind of building right now because we have an old infrastructure for wastewater? And like, our roads are old and our sidewalks are missing and, at what part of the process does that get addressed?
I'm still looking for the
I can
document. Who
tackle
wants to
that
take
for you.
that?
So this is all part of a comprehensive plan that the state mandates as part of the Growth Management Act that cities and counties update every 10 years now. So from 8 years to 10 years. But so zoning and the housing element and growth element are one element of the comprehensive plan, but the comprehensive is in there because there are, I think, 12 different elements there's a transportation plan, there's like a major institutions plan for like hospitals, police, fire, parks, everything, sewage and water. There's a plan for all of them. So
But the plans may be really great plans, and they still require that implementation of a plan. It's important to note that it's like the bridge maintenance. We all know the West Saddle Bridge broke because of lack of maintenance. Sewers and other lines may have a great maintenance plan, but unless it's funded by the people who are in charge, it could break, it could fail, it could not be there. So it's important to keep commenting about that stuff. Well, right now, as we're looking at some upzoning, and in the future, when they're looking at how that sausage goes and makes that requirement. Are developers responsible for A, B, or C, or are developers responsible for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, or maybe just A? So, and we're all developers. If you're gonna build on your property, you're a developer, you get to pay for it, or not. So it's a very delicate balance, and remind me of the group that you're with?
the complete communities.
Complete communities, which is and welcome to Morgan
CCC.
Junction. You said you just moved here, yay, another Morgan Junction night. Okay, so here,
There's this flyer, I'm just putting it out there, the proposition that's coming up in what you say.
1A at February 11th. Different
okay,
issues.
got
Social
it,
housing,
totally,
different
you
issues.
just blew my brain up. Yes, ma'am.
How much influence do we have over making the decision? I was on Beacon Hill when they were doing the light rail. We had zero influence. They had all these meetings, and the only thing that they really had not decided about was the art in the tunnel. But everything else, it was just a waste of time because they had decided. Can we make a difference? Have they decided?
The upzonings are going to happen,
It is.
yes. And so these plans would be adopted, but maybe there would be tweaking going on. Maybe the people who drew the map didn't come to this site and realize that, oh my gosh, there's a ravine a site has been upzoned for a 5-story building in a ravine. You know, really wanna do that, so maybe there's some tweaking that's going on. What else?
I mean, I think there were changes made from the draft that was produced in the first half of this year versus what we are looking at now. Right, and so that suggests that there is some possibility, right?
Of it
Of
further
change.
being tweaked or?
Yes, tweaks.
Yes, tweaks.
Some
But
of
it
the
is-
changes are mandated by state law.
Exactly.
Some of them are going to happen because virtually everyone in a position of authority agrees that they need to happen, right? Are the details of this block or this alley or whatever subject to negotiation? It seems possible.
But
So I would just like to make a comment that I am going to get in touch with a land use attorney so that we can have a meeting for anyone who's interested. I don't think that we will have a lot of negotiation in this getting passed through city council, but maybe in this sausage making process, we can have more negotiation. And so if anyone is interested in having a meeting with this land use attorney, it's not a commitment to anything, but just a process to try and get the ball rolling and maybe have a say.
You really need somebody who's familiar with land use and zoning code.
Yeah.
So I glanced at it.
I'm just gonna jump in and say Morgan Community Association participated in the appeal of the mandatory housing affordability plan 2015.
Yeah.
Worked with great attorneys, can talk to you about that, we, lost, but, so, been there, done that. Not going there now, that unless the community says, no, Morgan Community Association, you have to appeal this, and then I will have conversations with folks, but thank you for doing that, and did you wanna tell your folks your name?
Yeah, I'm Kelsey Hobbs.
Great. Okay, where were we at? You, sir, and you, and who else?
I have another question.
Okay, we're gonna do, first questions first, and then second questions second. So,
So I went to the meeting over in Hill, and I showed the land use planner a picture of our street, which is 16 feet wide,
1-6,
1/6,
Uh-huh.
and has no sidewalk on one side
Uh-huh.
and a tiny sidewalk on the other. And he said, well, this is an inadequate street, and we have to have a right of way. And then I said, well, so what kind of regulations are there around there? He really couldn't answer me those questions, and I started to try to look it up, and it was just like I got lost in the weeds of the city street codes and all of that stuff, and I just worry that somehow in this process, we'll lose track of some of these things.
and that's why people, and it's important for people to know what you got, and is it sufficient? Does it meet current code standards? If you don't have a sidewalk, how can you have it? How can you do stuff? I also want to say, from when I was a land use planner, and the things that people may not know is that there's the area of what's paved maybe in front of your property, maybe there's a sidewalk, maybe there's not, but the right-of-way that is actually publicly owned is typically wider than what's paved out there. And that may mean your awesome landscaping with that gorgeous shrub that you have slaved over could be blown up if that right-of-way needs to be improved. And by improved, I mean widened so that so I urge you to go and look up, there's different resources that I can talk to you, they can help you here at the library too. But look up your property and see how much right-of-way is in front of your house in a number. It's probably gonna be 60 feet, maybe 50 feet, maybe it's 40 feet, but it's probably more than 1/6, 16. Alleys are typically 16. So, good point there, but
So how
yeah.
does one find out what we could hold the city accountable for? How do
This,
you find this out?
when,
So I built my own home, and the first thing that the architect did was to figure out everything about your particular lot and what your different constraints were.
Right, but there's lots that'll get developed on the other side of the street with no sidewalk and no.
And the architect-
You understand it all.
they have the
pay for
same
that.
standards, and the challenge is gonna be, again, with that sausage making, it's holding the city responsible for implementing its codes. if there's something being constructed, I don't even wanna say they're required to put in sidewalks right now without going to a code. Where I used to work, of course, but you need to understand the code, so we can have a whole separate conversation about that. When is the sidewalk required? When there is no sidewalk? When is the curb gutter and sidewalk required? So, good question. Do a little bit of research if you can before you put your comments in, and know that just because you see it out there, it may be not what you think it is. It may be more, there may be more right-of-way, more public land than what you see. But good question. Over here.
What's the difference between writing your letters and commenting on that website you were showing?
They should be the same thing, ideally.
Should we do both?
In a perfect world, you would do both, because this is gonna go into a big box where it's all gonna get sorted about people who say this, and people who say this, and people who say that, and they'll just look at the numbers. 4,300 said this about this, and 22 said this about that. So that's where that's gonna go, and that's why you're not gonna get any replies to that. Your letters, you could probably get more specific, and it's a public document, and it shows up in records, the record, online record stuff, and to me, that's a good tool. I mean, I love this online stuff, but I'm still old-fashioned. I want to know where my letter's going. And they can be the same, or you can add more to your letter. But we just to clarify, we here are not forwarding any of your comments that you've made tonight, other than we're taking notes and looking at how Morgan needs to respond. Where was I for comments?
Somewhere over here.
Yes, sir.
With all of this density and the traffic being as bad as it is,
Yep.
we know the traffic is gonna get worse if it's
Yep.
more dense.
Yep.
Is there anything going on to improve the traffic?
And our traffic director just is leaving too, on top of that. Oh my gosh. So that, as the gentleman was talking about, there's different areas of review that come into play, whether it's housing and stuff. And all of that's in that sausage making.
Didn't we just pass like?
We're building the light rail.
That's for a year.
Yeah, that's my question with the light rail.
Yeah,
Is the
so-
route- Okay, finish, and I'm gonna.
Well, this plan right now is not addressing traffic. That's my short, simple answer.
Or parking.
And it's, or parking, remember, and that was the other thing, any project within that rapid ride line and, your rapid ride stops is not required to have parking, not required. If the developer puts parking in, maybe his or her bank made him do that, but it's not required.
Oh.
So I kind of wanted to follow up on that a little bit with the light rail. The light rail route has not been selected.
But it's probably gonna be what
And
the
now,
preferred price.
is there any argument to say, wait on some of this until we have the light rail selected and then move forward?
So they've just voted on it basically
Okay.
in the last few weeks, so it's.
So the
Yeah.
route-
It's pretty
basically
it's pretty-
finalized.
yeah.
So the route.
About as finalized as it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
And it's, be very sorry that or be very glad you don't live on 32nd.
So that is gonna be incorporated.
This plan probably doesn't say a word about that, maybe within multiple pages it talks about the fact that the light rail is coming, but this plan does not reflect that. This is reflecting, what is existing, which is our rapid ride system. The light rail is not proposed yet to come to Morgan.
I mean, my point being like, we're gonna build it up and tear it down.
I just want to say that I didn't bring any plans from the big junction, but the rapid ride line, the first version that came out, it ended the line right in front of Wells Fargo Bank facing west. And then they went, wow, how are we gonna go south? Because there's nothing west except a bunch of old houses. We need to find that density, so the Sound Transit Board had them revise how that line needed to end in West Seattle, and so it's gonna end at 41st, and it's gonna be facing south. at,
Between the QFC and the Safeway.
no, it's between Safeway and the building next to it, and it's heading south. So that's, if they, and then it'll end up in the underground, so if it comes underground, it may come down towards Morgan Junction, or if they're smart, they head elsewhere.
Can we get
But-
your opinion about Zelda?
Yes, Zelma, we're not talking about Rapid.
No, my
Yeah.
comment is that we're saying, like, hold up on the zoning until the actual route is defined.
I think it's too close, and they're so
Yeah.
close for the
Yeah.
site.
Can I?
Okay, hang on. Who hasn't had a first shot at a question? This gentleman, and then someone else had a second question, or you already asked your second? Okay, so let's get your question.
Okay, this probably cuts across agencies, but I'm really bemused by how we have the land use people saying, we gotta have this huge increase in housing, and we have the education group saying, we gotta close half of our schools in West Seattle. That says two totally different things about potential population growth. And maybe there's somebody here that is knowledgeable about either of these agencies.
Yeah, they have dogs.
I don't know, but that's,
More kennels.
that is a good comment to make, as a general comment about, yes, Seattle is growing, and I apologize because I had a one-pager here we are. The market rate housing needs and supply analysis from April of 2021, and this is one of the documents, it's 104 pages long, so I printed 4. But this is one of the documents that is a supporting document to this plan. So this was done by a consultant, and if you'd like to look at this, I tried to get the summary, but it talks about why this upzone, all this density is needed. This is the why. Okay?
What's that called?
Market rate housing needs and supply analysis.
Who's that published by?
Here, Burke.
So it came out in 2021.
Right, because these guys have been working on this since 2021. I'm sorry, I can't hear folks, quiet.
And the data were collected when for this?
I don't know, I'm not gonna read a 120 page report.
Oh, that's.
Just a minute, this gentleman has.
Okay, well, on his comment, okay, I heard the newspaper, and that's what people do, hey, we need 34,000 new units, because the newspaper says we need 34. Oh, it wasn't a month ago, the newspaper had a big article about the population of the state of Washington is net zero, because this many people went, and this many people came in. And Seattle's population is net zero, because that many people left, and this many came in. So yes, there's no more people coming in the city of Seattle today, and that's probably 3 or 4 years ago.
We're talking in the future.
We're talking 20 years out, and I'm not gonna predict for 20 years because I don't work for them.
Well, that's just today.
Nobody got a kid.
All right, who else, have you had a question on, okay, go ahead for it.
So does the library have printed copies of the current, not the various drafts?
Good
of the current
questions.
document?
Don't know.
I put one at Southwest, some of this paperwork I put at the Southwest.
Thank you for doing
Library.
that, that's really great. The city, if I ran things, the city would be required to have all of these multiple reports at each library, but I don't know, so
Okay, that's a
good to-
question I put back to the city then.
Yeah.
They'll definitely have it downtown in the central library.
Yeah, but that's not realistic. One thing to do when you go, can you go to the one city, one Seattle thingy again? There's a whole section that lists the reports that are the backup for this plan. One of them being this whatever that was, report. So that's a good way to see, there's a bunch of them, and they've been working on this for a number of years. And that's what they're hanging their hat on, is these reports. Is that gonna come up, Michael, or are we, you know what, they close this down at 7:30, I think. See, if the clock is ticking. Anyway, okay, who else had a question back there?
I have a quick comment and a question, but,
Yeah,
so, I know you're optimistic, but take it from me, my neighbor sold her property and immediately 3 units went in, like, overnight.
that's allowed outright right now.
Now, how many people are a little upset that Rock Sock is not in this room?
He was not invited.
Hang on, I have something to read. He was not invited because this is a community meeting.
I invited him.
You invited him? Well, I'm glad you did, but I did not. I got this message today at 11 a.m. and it's taking me this long to find it. I was gonna read it up front. Hi Deb, this is from Elaine, who is his chief of staff. I understand that you have received maps and info from OPCD. For your meeting tonight, comma, we will not be attending if anyone asks. And that's Councilmember Rob Saka. We are following concerns from all of the various neighborhoods and know that once it comes to the city council next year, we will be delving into the mayor's plan on a deeper level. You know that the council will hold select committee meetings on the One Seattle plan, parentheses, meaning all council members will be part of that committee. The mayor will be transmitting the revised plan around December 30th to the council and will be available to the public. Best wishes for a productive meeting, Elaine. So, I think maybe he didn't want to come because he knew he'd be looking at this stuff later on. He wanted to have an open mind, I don't know.
Was that
But-
December
You
30th?
attended
Yes, he did. He did. I remember him talking, that was the night after the election, for those of us who were. Other
But
questions?
just to reiterate, the purpose of this meeting was to provide everybody here with information of how to contribute to the plan. It was not to hold your elected officials accountable or to.
You get to do that on your
give
own.
everything to know, right? The purpose was, here's what's happening, here's how to access the website, and here's how to make to voice the thoughts that you have. That is what's happening.
So we've got just a little bit more time, and I also want to, we'll get the question, I just want to also say, the library closes at 8. They start making announcements soon, really loud announcements, forget the stuff. And if there's a way that you want to talk to somebody, you're welcome to do it outside, in the hallway here. I don't think that they'll kick you out of the building until 8 o'clock, but the computers and stuff will get shut down. It's just the way the libraries operate. This is a free space. And if anybody has been to the restroom, I was heartened to see, folks, I'm still talking, Paul, come on, man. I know. I was heartened to see, for those of you who haven't been to a Seattle Public Library lately, that this public library has resources. They 2 flyers in at least the ladies' room. One talking about where the emergency shelter is here in West Seattle, which is on Alaska Street, and the list of necessities that they provide, the library provides. So I was really heartened to see that, and I was glad that this meeting space was available for us because I love libraries. So that's my little plug there for the Seattle Public Library. So question back here.
First thing was just a question about what you had just read. Was that December 30th of this year, a revised?
I wished I
Yes,
read this
it is
earlier,
December
because
30th.
revised plan, December 30th, so that's 10 days after the comments come in to OPCD. They're gonna be scribbling a whole bunch and shoving a plan at the mayor. Who then forwards it on to city council.
And then my other question was discussing with another neighbor friend. Have they been looking at the existing occupancy of apartment buildings here? And if they are full or if they are empty?
Good question. Anybody know the answer to that? My hunch is no, because I think that they tend to keep that, and they being the property owners, maybe wanting, or the apartment owners, maybe want to keep that under wraps. It might be privileged information.
No, they
Talk
you
about
could
their.
ask, yeah, you can just ask them for they
Okay.
actually evaluated on it. But that was, yeah, we were talking about, like, if there's, like, the supply issue, the supply report from 2021, and yes, tons of apartments went up, we all saw them.
Right.
The car lots are gone, now it's all apartments.
Yeah.
Like, are they full? Because that is obviously trying to create density. If those aren't full now, why the hell are we creating more
Good
density?
evening. The library is closing in 30 minutes. Restroom will close in 20 minutes.
If that's
If you want to
taxation,
share
it's helpful
city
to find
space
out.
and your records
Then
and
I'm
changes,
not concerned.
Well, you can find out by going on like Redfin or anything like that and seeing
I'm
all of
sure
the
they're
right,
posting
available
Yeah.
so much.
You can see rates is what I would.
Good. They can see rates.
When do they want to implement this?
Once the city, implementation would follow, after the sausage.
It's a 10-year plan.
It's a 10-year plan, yeah,
Can't
so.
see when it started in 10 years?
you have like 60, for the next 10 years. Because they're looking out in the future, 2040, what is this a 2060 plan? Where are we at, 2040? For 2040, this is
How
2024.
early are they gonna be able to start with this kind of building?
I do not see this happening for, here's 24, probably about the same time all the craziness is going on for the sound transit. So 10 years.
10 years?
That's my guess.
How many?
But go back and don't quote me.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
guess.
Tracy.
How
It's out, it's a ways out there. There's new codes that are in place right now that they've only just figured out, like taking all the residential lots and saying you can have 3 units on your 4,800 square foot yacht lot. That'd be great. All right.
I would like to make a comment. I think at your meeting, at our meeting at Fauntleroy, I'm not seeing any map of 35th and Barton. All of us use that intersection for the most part. It concerns me that that map is not showing up, because I think it's gonna affect traffic flows. And then at all these meetings you go to, anybody talk about we don't have a hospital in West Seattle, we are not Ballard.
Only if Victoria's, and he's still here, she's already left.
Compared to Ballard, we are not Ballard.
We are
do
not Ballard.
have a hospital.
All these are really valid points. So, it's 7:30.